to Jurassic Park.
They do move in herds.
The modding community for Warhammer 2 is still doing amazing work, people, never doubt it. And because the Beastmen have been so long abandoned by their dark gods of Games Workshop and Creative Assembly, until they get their new DLC, it's up to modders to give them those scrumptious toys they've lacked for many a long year. Charlemagne hath returned to the mortal realm, as the Pratin and the Jabberslythe come hunting on the mod workshop. This gorgeous creature is the Pratin, a mighty winged creature of chaos, a malformed hybrid of chimera and great stag. These monsters are known for luring in their prey by pretending to be prey, using their giant antlers and deer-like heads as bait, then lunging from the shadows to tear and mutilate once their trap is sprung. Rumors abound they were first created when Beastmen shamans captured great stags of the forest, twisting and tormenting them into hellish parodies of the noble creatures they once were. And Chaos Roby is once again the mastermind behind this modded monstrosity, with Doomed World from my Discord giving him the idea for it. On the other hand, we have possibly the most memed unit in Total War history, the Jabberslythe. I don't think Creative Assembly had any idea of the hilarity that would ensue when they said this creature would cost the entirety of the Charlemagne art budget to render and animate. But I'm glad we got it all the same, because this meme has legs and flapping arms, apparently. It's created by Urgat, the same talented creator who made the Propa Stone Trolls mod, and yes, he is well aware it looks pretty ridiculous while flying, but essentially, he's feeling pretty confident we will eventually get a real Jabberslythe from CA, and I'm pretty confident about that as well. So he didn't kill himself trying to forge perfect textures or make this thing to the highest quality standard he possibly could, which is perfectly understandable because, like many of us, he wanted a Jabberslythe now to help tie us over until the Beastmen come again, but he didn't want to put a bunch of ridiculous work in to figure out that it would all be completely ruined once the DLC came live. So he grabbed a Vargul for the skeleton and foot combat, the arm flapping from a Vargeist, and jerry-rigged a grotesque and freakish monster from their intensely foul union. And I must say, the shape, movement, and animations of this beast work pretty damn well. I mean, there's no doubt about what this thing is whatsoever. Whether you're up close and personal or flying far away with the camera, this creature looks like a legit Jabberslythe. Very recognizable. And the low poly textures and bizarre stretching it has are relatively fitting for a creature of chaos like the Jabberslythe, that whatever unjust god created this abomination didn't quite feel like completing its work. All I can say is, it works. So props to both Urgat and Chaos Roby. You guys have done an awesome job on your respective unit mods. But battlefield application is just as important as visuals, and both have been done justice when it comes to their tabletop stats, special rules, and role on the killing fields of Warhammer 2. Now for the Jabberslythe, we've got a large and relatively unwieldy flying creature with low armor, good speed and leadership, poison attacks, an impressive stat line, and high AP. On the tabletop, it had 3 special rules. An Aura of Madness forced enemies to take a leadership test and suffer unsaved wounds if they failed, as people would go insane even looking at it. Slithy Tongue was a shooting attack that represented the monster dragging victims into its gaping maw with a freakish tongue, and Spurting Bile Blood damaged enemies with its corrosive ichor, as halberds and spears pierced into the Jabberslythe's hide. The weeping wounds would melt away would-be attackers. And all these abilities have been carried over, although obviously there have been a few changes here and there, with Aura of Madness as a passive leadership and defense hex. Spurting Bile Blood is a Mortis Engine damage over time aura that kicks in once the Jabber drops below 50% HP, and Slithy Tongue functions as a magic missile that can only target single entities and deals roughly 700-800 damage to a dismounted Footlord. So yeah, the flying animation looks ridiculous and makes no sense whatsoever, but when it's on the ground, which is where it spends most of its time, it looks quite good, and it functions even better. This thing is fantastic for mulching hordes of infantry and dealing even more damage as it begins to drop low in health. On the other side, we've got Chaos Roby's Pratin, a creature that first appeared and received rules in the Monstrous Arcanum supplement, same place we got Arcane Phoenixes, Skin Wolves, Morngulls, and Necrofax Colossus. And it was in this supplement, the Monstrous Arcanum, that you could choose what kind of specialty it would have, whether that be Insane Bloodlust granting Frenzy, Forest Stalker granting Ambush and Strider, and Filth Encrusted Scales granting a Scaly Skin ward save. So, depending on what kind of faction you'd be fighting against, you'd want to pick a different special rule to specialize against that race. On top of all that, it had 2 special rules that would always be there. Consuming Hatred would represent its own self-loathing and tortured soul, taking some sick satisfaction realizing that only death will end its suffering, and Endless Malice prevents it from chasing down routing troops if it doesn't pass a leadership test, instead choosing to rip and tear at its dead victims and staying in the same spot for the remainder of that turn. Now, in its current implementation for Warhammer 2, it has Vanguard, Frenzy, and Forest Stalker already built in, so it does not take terrain penalties whatsoever while fighting in the woods, and it can move through trees unimpeded, which is pretty useful for a large flying monster who wants to engage, cavalry and monsters who might be hiding in the woods. But it does not have Scaly Skin or any missile resist whatsoever. So, this is a bonus versus large speed demon with 110 movement speed that functions in a playstyle very much like a Terrorgeist, without the regen or breath attacks, no healing on it whatsoever, but much more aggression and a better overall stat line, which includes significantly better performance against infantry because it has higher base melee attack, and that mostly comes down to the extra buffs from Frenzy and the extra buffs to the charge bonus and melee attack as well. So, I'm of the personal opinion that we will get both a Gorgon and a Jabberslythe as official releases whenever the Beastmen DLC drops, but that the Pratin will only come if we get another Beastmen content drop after that, which is not impossible, but considering how many races, lords, and units that will already be coming in Warhammer 3, it just seems less likely to me overall. Without a doubt, Chaos Mark Beastmen units are a possibility. Stuff like Slangors, Korngors, Pestigors, Zongors, all that stuff. And that means even more obscure monsters like the Pratin could also come out of the woodwork as well. But there's just going to be a lot on CA's plate at that point, and unlike with the Warriors of Chaos, I don't think Mark Beastmen units are a core pillar or foundation of the Beastmen identity as a race. Just a fun thing to add on top of everything else if and when the time comes. But yeah, these units are super cool. The modders have done an amazing job with them, and if you want to give them a shot in your own campaigns, give them a download. Links will be in the pinned comment and description below, and let them know I sent you. Enjoy, and I'll see you all next time. Indie Pride, signing out for now. Have a good one, guys.